In this Minecraft video, I'm going to show you how to turn half of your Minecraft mega base into grass, with only a few complicated steps. Why you would ever want to do that, I don't really know, but you're still going to find out in this video. Actually, only like 30 seconds of this video will be spent on grass, and besides, I took one for the team and did all of the grass touching myself for you guys, albeit virtually. Essentially, the story behind this mega base is that I spent a bunch of months building this in 1.16 and up, made a bunch of videos and streams which you can find if you're interested, and now, whenever I need a giant Venator Star Destroyer from Star Wars, I can just whip this bad boy out. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now, because I need it for an upcoming 100 player event that takes place during a big Star Wars themed modded space battle that you can have a chance to participate in yourself by joining the Discord server linked in the description below. So there I was a week ago, with the task of somehow transferring this build from a 1.17 world all the way back to 1.12.2. To the casual Minecraft enthusiast, it might seem as simple as just creating a 1.12.2 installation and loading the world there. Or perhaps loading the world in each major version of the game in reverse order until arriving at the desired version. Clearly, I was a casual Minecraft enthusiast, to use my own words, because I tried that. All of that. I tried everything from structure blocks to world edit. Nothing would work. Most attempts after 1.16 were met with at best the world getting reset, or at worst the game crashing. The closest I ever got was by using structure blocks to transfer a 2x2 chunk area all the way back to 1.13, at which point I could go no further with that method due to the block ID changes between 1.12 and 1.13, which made structure block files incompatible. But I wouldn't be making this video at all if I hadn't gotten it figured out eventually, all thanks to some searching on Reddit and a few very old but helpful YouTube tutorials. It turned out that part of the solution was right under my nose the whole time. Using a very handy little bit of software known as Mineways, which I already had been using to export Minecraft Blender models, I was able to export a type of schematic file of the build even in its most updated form. All this entailed in Mineways was just opening the world and selecting it and exporting it into a file, which in turn was sent over to an old but useful program known as MC-Edit. Somehow, despite MC-Edit running 1.12.2, it was able to accept a schematic file from a much newer version of the game, meaning I could create a world via MC-Edit in 1.12.2, drop in my schematic file, and then access the world in Minecraft itself, complete with my Star Destroyer. And now you see, that's where the grass comes in, because MC-Edit took any block that it didn't recognize, anything that wasn't in 1.12.2, and it either got deleted already or it was just turned into grass. The most notable changes to grass being things like all types of blackstone, all types of deep slate on the interior, and most slab variants. In other words, no stone slabs, no andesite slabs. So there was a fair amount of stuff that was just straight up gone or turned into a lawn. And in the absolute worst case scenarios with one certain type of block, target blocks for some reason were not translated back to grass or deleted. They were turned into TNT, and since they were associated with redstone in the build, oftentimes activated redstone, a fair number of things blew up on the inside of the Venator, especially around the hangar, which added even more stuff that I had to fix on top of just removing the lawn from my ship. But there was nothing for it but to just slowly work on replacing the grass with the proper blocks. And you can see here that I fully repaired the hangars and added some vehicles in because, well, it's a space battle. We're gonna need some vehicles to go along with that, other than just World War II propeller planes. Alright, command bridges are done. There were a lot of stair and slab variants that got deleted. Now we mostly just have the engines to do and greebling along the sides. Oh, and the interior is also a giant mess as well, and not just the reactor room. Everything is either blown up or grass. After an unspecified number of hours later, I have fixed all of the outside. There is no evidence of a lawn. The engines were super bad since they were built primarily from blackstone, which all got turned to grass. But it's all fixed now. I've fixed all of the greebling, which took a while, and I've taken it upon myself to start adding some of the upgrades to the ship instead of just fixing it. I've made these turbo lasers not just decorational, but they are functional now. They shoot a variant of gassed fireball with a pretty high explosion power. I can demonstrate to you here what it does against stone. Quite impressive if I do say so myself. I've already started upgrading the defenses on the exterior. I figure I may as well continue with the addition of a few emplacement weapons. If you're familiar with immersive intelligence, you may have some idea of what this is going to be. If you're not familiar with it, I suggest that you go and download it immediately. It's a great mod. It has a lot of awesome stuff, which I'm about to demonstrate for you right here. As you can see, any players that try to land in an enemy ship's hangar will get deleted by the turrets, which conveniently can differentiate between teams of players to shoot at. So if players want to try to take over a ship, even though that's not going to be the main objective, they'll have to first knock out the automated turrets, or survive long enough that they run out of ammo. Is this too many turrets in one spot? Maybe it is, but I'm going to keep it because it's just so cool watching them do their thing when you go close. Also, the thing about these turrets is you have to go near them for them to notice you, but once they've noticed you, they will track you from really, really far away until you are eliminated by them, or just unload the chunks. With these turrets here, I also kind of figured I'd go almost with a secular Star Destroyer, like stair-step turrets going up toward the superstructure of the command bridge. If you have any idea what that is, then you're definitely a Star Wars nerd. If not, it's fine. It's kind of specific. But that's not the only place I added some of those turrets. There's a few of them scattered around the trenches on the sides of the ship as well, just for some extra defenses. There's one in the back, and I've also added a bunch of these smaller point defense turrets, which are just going to be used to target mobs, should that ever be something that we need. You can see here that they obliterate a wither very quickly as long as they can actually shoot it, and it's not behind a wall like the first one was. For the event that this is going to be used in first, I don't think you'll have much need of defending mobs, but you never know when those parasites might show up again. You gotta be prepared. Now it's time for the single largest upgrade to the Venator, the renovation of the main hangar. I've waited a really long time to see this view, but I can now, if I want to, recreate that classic picture from the Clone Wars movie, I think, where it's all the Jedi and clones standing in the open hangar of a Venator, and you can just see the bridge in the background. But the main reason for opening it, as you can see, is I could fly planes in and out of it along with helicopters. It's all the military budget was spent on the ship. We're just kind of what's left over was only enough for some fighter jets, not actual Arc 170s, unfortunately. In the event, players can make use of all of the different hangar openings for the ship without worry of actually damaging it with the vehicles, because I was able to disable block damage, which is awesome. Unfortunately, I also had to disable the flying machines as well, although they kind of disabled themselves, since all of the honey got turned into grass. But now I'm off to deal with the fun rat's nest of redundant redstone and flying machine components and exploded hallways that is the interior of the ship. Wish me luck as I try to resurrect what I can and add what cool stuff is missing. Just like that, I've done the thing. I fixed the interior. It only took 3 seconds for you guys. It took a little bit more than 3 seconds for me, but I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. Some things did turn out better than they did originally, since I have modded blocks. Of course, I'll just say that as I'm staring at the rainbow squiggly things. I don't know if that's better, but it's funny at least. Some things are functional that weren't before. For example, this gun deck was originally just functional, but now one of these actually shoots the same thing that those turbo lasers shoot up top. I fixed up some of the rooms, some of them I didn't. I also added a few additional rooms, like multiple gun decks at various points on the ship where there are either AA guns or turrets that shoot artillery shells, or some combination of the two. The armory is full of weapons and ammunition now, all of which players will be needing for the event. I fixed up the crew quarters, which is based off Camino. That's going to be the spawn point for that ship. The mess hall now spawns a ton of food as well. There's a lot of variety. The only problem is one of these stairs is a little bit bad. I don't really know what happened to that stair. Might be a problem. Giving this automatic machine gun turn incendiary ammo was definitely a problem, though. Note to self, do not give machine gun nest turret incendiary ammo. Just use any other ammo, except maybe high explosive would also be bad. I added this machine gun turret as an extra layer of defense for any enemies that show up in the hangar, but all it did was just light the hangar on fire. Not really what I wanted. Also, did you guys know that you can put out fires by throwing splash potions of water bottles? It might even work with other potions as well, but this isn't a modded thing either. You can do that in vanilla. It's pretty cool and satisfying. Everything to the front of the ship behind that machine gun turret, I turned into just a big gun deck room. I think there's 4 turrets on each side. There's several artillery turrets, several AA turrets. I think it'll be really cool to see a bunch of players just using the turrets and trying to defend their ship from any incoming planes. Like I mentioned, the objective of this event isn't going to be just blow up the other team's ship, but I'm sure some people will still attempt to attack the ships as you can if you want to. Inside the hangar, I've also added all of the vehicle spawn points where you can get your planes or helicopters or even like some tanks and stuff if you just want to drive around the hangar. You won't really be able to go much outside the ship with those, outside of just falling into the void. But the planes will spawn with all the ammo and stuff they already need, all set to go. Only one of them will spawn per spawner, but they'll get destroyed if they fall into the void, and then they will also despawn if they're unoccupied for a certain amount of time and then show back up their spawn points. So I think it'll prevent a bunch of them from piling up in weird places and getting stuck. And my final addition to the Venator, some of you may have suspected that I would do this, but we've got to add the giant artillery howitzer. This thing is a fully controllable artillery turret that you could turn in most directions. In other words, you could aim it wherever you want just by changing a few values here, as long as you don't point it to blow up the ship itself. Luckily, these signs tell you where not to aim. Anywhere else, though, you could just shoot artillery shells at enemy ships that may or may not exist eventually, soon. Basically, you can control this either from a specific artillery deck that I made, where you can actually see it up close, or if you want to, you can control it from one of the command bridges. It's just a little bit harder to see, but either way, you can do the same thing at either place. Right here, you can see it being controlled from the artillery deck, in other words, really close to it. If you want to change where it's pointing, you can change the values inside these data input machines, and that will affect the orientation of it. Then whenever you're ready, you can just shoot it. Don't forget to unload the used up shell casing though when you're done shooting it, otherwise it won't do anything. But now before we end the video, I figured I'd just drop in a few of the really funny clips from when I was messing around with the planes and everything with a few of the event moderators just to see how it all worked out. These clips are actually before I added the artillery howitzer, which is why it's not there, and I've since added additional armor to the inside of the ship due to how much was exploded in this messing around.